I think last year, in fact, I was probably energized by everything that was going on in the world of golf. I felt like we were maybe in a bit more of a state of flux. I sat up here at this table this day last year talking about designated events and getting all the best players to play together and all that stuff. And I feel like everything's a little more settled. I feel I've been, I remember this time last year being on a board call at 7:30 in the morning on the Tuesday, trying to get all that stuff ratified and get it passed through the board. And, I've been able to focus a little bit more just on golf and my game, and even able to take 2 days at home between Chicago and here, getting to spend some time with the girls. That's been really nice. So, I'd say everything's just a little more balanced and, a little more calm this year.
Okay, just gonna go right up here, standing up.
Hey, Rory, we saw you out there yesterday on the putting green. Looked like maybe you'd gone back to the spider putter. Do you know what you're going to have in the bag for the putter this week?
Yeah, more than likely, you'll probably go back to the spider. I figured a couple things out last week, just with like aiming and some of the shorter putts. And, there's a lot of putts last week that had a lot of break on them and from short distances. And I fell with a shorter line on the putter. I just couldn't trust my aim as much as when I have the spider and have that slightly longer line. So, yeah, practiced with it a good bit yesterday, and it's a familiar feel. I've done really well with that putter over the last few years, and I've had some of my best putting weeks in my career at this golf course on these greens with that putter. So, hopefully I can rekindle that again this week.
Okay, let's go to Dylan right here.
You mentioned this year seeming a little bit more calm around now, but I guess from out here it seems like things still really are in a state of flux. Do you think you're just a little bit less involved or less emotionally involved, or do you have a better sense of where this thing is all going this fall than maybe we do?
Yeah, maybe less emotionally involved. I think last year it was to do with how can we make the product of the PGA Tour better, and I think I was really invested in that. So when it comes to like governance and investment and all, that doesn't really, not that I don't care about it, but it doesn't excite me as much as making the product better and how can we make this the most competitive landscape to play professional golf, and how can we get all the best players to play together. Like, that's the stuff that excites me. The stuff that's going on right now, look, I'm on the board and I have to be involved, and whenever something's brought to the table, I'll vote on it, yes or no. And but yeah, maybe just not as emotionally engaged on all of this other stuff.
Just looking ahead to the Ryder Cup, just out of curiosity, do you have a problem with the Americans being able to select live guys and Europe's not, or it is what it is?
What guys?
For the Ryder. Oh, the Ryder Cup being able to take guys from live. The Americans taking live guys in Europe not. No.
I don't think it would make a difference for us.
Rory, two quick things. Is it too early to say if Tiger's had much influence on the policy board? I mean, it was just announced a month ago or so. And secondly, is it your understanding that if and when the framework agreement gets to the finish line, that all of the player directors have to be unanimous?
I don't think all the player directors have to be unanimous. I don't think it has to be a unanimous vote. It just has to be a majority. And I think Tiger being on the board, I think it's meaningful that he's on it, that he's engaged, that he's certainly been spending more time on it than I have. He's been talking to some people and he's been talking to a lot of people, and he's really engaged in just trying to get the best outcome for the players on the PGA Tour. So I think his difference has been felt already, and I think it'll only continue to, his presence on there will only continue to grow as we head towards that December 31st deadline.
Rory McIlroy covering a lot of ground as he is wont to do. Let's welcome in the third member of our team, Paige McKenzie. Paige, what's your takeaway from Rory McIlroy, especially when it comes to the flat stick?
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack in that conversation that he had with the media, but I'm looking more at what he was talking about in the form, and he is specifically asked a lot of questions about his putting this year, and there's good reason, because when you look at, based on what he's done last year and what he's done this year on the putting green, you see a noticeable decline. You can see his strokes gained putting last season, gaining nearly half a shot on the median of the field, and this year there is that decline. But what I want you to also pay attention to is every other category. If you look, this is a player that was leading the PGA Tour in strokes gained total last season. He has improved in every single category with the exception of putting, and has a strokes gained total greater than that of last season. Where again, he was leading the PGA Tour. He is not this year. Scotty Scheffler is, and he's had a tremendous season. But when you look at Rory McIlroy, he's answered those questions about the putting statistics this season. But it's worth noting that the rest of his game has managed to pick up, and he's coming into this week with incredible form. Not only 9 consecutive top 10s coming into this, but he's got 28 consecutive rounds of par or better, the longest current active streak on the PGA Tour, coming back to a place, as he said, at least he's comfortable on those putting greens.
Yeah, looking for a little heat with the putter in a place where he's had some of his best putting weeks. I tell you what, I think he's among the leaders in strokes gained peace of mind right now. Just listening to him talk about the couple days off with the family. He looks tan, rested, and ready. I think that was a great question from Dylan DeChair of golf.com. Is he just a little more removed from some of the uncertainty around professional golf? And I think the answer to that question is yes. He has removed himself to a certain extent, at least emotionally, from all of the uncertainty.
Because, yeah, I think emotionally he's tried to disengage a bit and focus more on Rory, but then he's still on the board. He's still part of all these meetings. But I don't think he's wearing it on his sleeve like he was being kind of the guy carrying the mantle for the PGA Tour with all the outwardly facing rhetoric as the player who each and every week had to do press conferences regarding the LIV situation. Now he can take a little bit more of a backseat. And I think it's a fair tone to take with Tiger now injured, not playing, but way more engaged. Have Tiger carry a lot of that now for the players as far as being dialed into all those conversations, pushing forward what the players are looking for. I thought that was great to hear that Tiger's already making an impact, and it seems to be one that's tangible and meaningful, and he's going to be the one to help try and push it towards the finish line on the players' behalf leading up to December 31st.
Still a lot for Rory to play for, even outside the major championships. He has 24 career PGA Tour wins. His next win, he's going to tie Johnny Miller, McDonald Smith, and Tommy Armour on the all-time list. He's T26 now all-time. He'd be T23 now. He's going for an unprecedented 4th FedEx Cup title. He's already the only guy with 3. He looks like a guy who knows he's playing some great golf right now as well. And Paige mentioned the 9 straight top 10 finishes. He has the runner-up finish in L.A. at the U.S. Open. He won the Scottish with 2 of the best shots that we saw on the 71st and 72nd holes. To me, he looks like a dangerous player this week. He's not carrying the lead. He's going to be among the chasers. He made up that big deficit last year, touchdown deficit. It's a shorter road for him this year.
You give me all those stats and you break it all the way down. What's a fair way to rate an average season for Rory McIlroy?
An average season for him?
Say, like, what's an expected season for Rory McIlroy?
I think a win a season is expected. He has 2 this season. I think it's a very good year. I think because of his talent level, we expect a little bit more from the 4-time major champ. But when you want to talk about consistency and the numbers, and Paige talked about it, this is someone this year 2nd in strokes gained total and 2nd in strokes gained off the tee. He's 3rd in strokes gained approach. He's 75th in strokes gained putting, which is why he's been tinkering with that part of his arsenal. But Paige, I think this is someone who, when he puts his head on the pillow, is going to believe he's had a very, very good year even without winning a major championship.
Yeah, and I actually, as I was evaluating, kind of looking back on this season, you could go back to Augusta and then the following withdrawal, and you wonder, where was he mentally to get to this point now where he looks so confident, so composed, so at ease, all of those things that you said. And you think about the roller coaster that did occur earlier in the season, and now it's this incredible high-level play. So I think you add the physical talent, the physical statistics of what he's done, and you add that to the mental strength, confidence, and peace that goes along with it. And I agree. I'm going to talk a little bit later in the show about some of the folks that have had success here, and obviously he's one of the top of the list.
And I would say you look since June 6th, and you can even go a little before that, because Rory had kind of an inkling in the weeks leading up to it that, hey, there might be something down the pipeline. It seemed like a weight was freed almost when the news came out that the PGA Tour and Public Investment Fund were in talks, because since then, he hasn't finished outside the top 10 in any event on the PGA Tour. It's been one of the best stretches of consistency that we've seen from Rory in the last, say, 12 months.
Since that PGA Championship, no finish outside of the top 9. And I tell you what, when he was talking to Todd Lewis in Charlotte, which was his first PGA Tour start, I want to say after the Masters, he looked worn out.
Yeah.
And, always accommodated, but being in front of a microphone and camera looked like the last place that Rory McIlroy wanted to be. He looked exhausted. He looked over it. He looks refreshed right now.
And how, I guess, smart was that break on Rory's end?
Yeah.
Where we were questioning, he skips a designated event, RBC Heritage, where he needed time off after missing the cut at the Masters. What's going on? Why is he stepping away from the game for a few weeks? Since then, it's been the peak, like Rory McIlroy 2.0 almost, from the summer run to get to this point now where he has a chance of trying to win the FedEx Cup for the 4th time.
One of his favorite golf courses in creation. Look out for him this week.